Julie Ward was not going to look back as she left her Hertfordshire home on a warm February morning in 1988. Her father, John Ward, sat at his desk managing the logistics empire he built from scratch. His only daughter, Julie, was never meant for city life or concrete buildings. She chased nature. She was going to travel to Kenya, spend months photographing wildlife, and return to London to open her first major photography exhibition. As Julie boarded that plane, her father John would wave goodbye. If only he knew that wave was the last time he would see his daughter alive. He would never have let her board that flight. He would have shut down his business and kept her safe at home. But he couldn't have known. Julie stayed in Kenya for months. Her passion for nature eventually led her to the Masai Mara National Reserve. In her Nairobi hotel, she met Australian traveler Glenn Howard. The two friends rented a small Suzuki Jeep for a one-week safari. Their plan was flawless. Spend 2 days in the park, camp out in the heart of the wild, and drive back to Nairobi. However, fate began weaving its web with the very first mechanical breakdown. On September 2, 1988, the Jeep's gearbox snapped. The vehicle was stranded at a ranger camp in the middle of the park. That day, Glenn Howard looked at Julie and said, "I have a flight to catch. I have to leave." Julie simply smiled. "You go ahead," she said. "I'll wait for the car to be fixed and keep taking my photos." Glenn Howard stepped out of that Jeep and took a bus to Nairobi, leaving Julie behind in that isolation. If Glenn had any idea how vulnerable that young woman was about to become, he would have canceled his ticket and never left her side. Glenn left, and Julie was left all alone with the gathering dark. The late afternoon of September 6th. Julie's Jeep was finally repaired. Julie signed the hotel guest log for the last time. She packed her tent, set her cameras on the passenger seat, and prepared to drive straight back to Nairobi to catch her flight to England a few days later. Yet, as Julie stepped past the hotel perimeter, she had no idea. She was already on someone's radar. If she knew, she would never have signed that log. She would never have turned that key. In London, the flight landed, but Julie never walked through the gate. John Ward knew his daughter too well. Julie didn't just vanish without calling. He immediately contacted the Kenyan police and the British High Commission. All he hit was a brick wall. Officers brushed him off, saying, "She's on safari. She probably met a local. She's just having fun." But John Ward was not a man to stand idly by. He put his life and business on hold, poured his fortune into action, and boarded the first flight to Kenya. He hired a private helicopter out of his own pocket and spent days flying low over the endless plains of the Masai Mara. And on September 13th, the helicopter pilot spotted a yellow Suzuki Jeep hidden among the dense thickets. John Ward rushed down from the helicopter toward his daughter's Jeep. When he pulled the door open, Julie's biology books, her passport, and her tent were all sitting on the seat. But Julie was nowhere to be found. Carved into the dirt near the vehicle were massive letters spelling SOS. Julie had cried out for help. She had tried to survive for days. John Ward kept searching. A few kilometers away, he noticed a plume of smoke rising from a pile of ash. As he walked closer, he faced the most horrifying nightmare a parent could ever behold. Among the ashes lay Julie's severed hair and a leg bone cleanly sliced with a machete. John Ward collapsed. He had come to bring his daughter home. He found only her remains. The Kenyan government was in absolute panic. Tourism was the lifeblood of their economy. If news broke that a British tourist was brutally murdered on safari, millions of dollars would vanish overnight. The chief government pathologist, Dr. Youssef Hassan, was immediately deployed. Dr. Youssef drafted a swift official report. Julie Ward was killed and eaten by lions and hyenas. The case was meant to be closed forever. But what they failed to calculate was that her father, John Ward, would investigate like a seasoned detective. John Ward took his daughter's remains directly to independent forensic experts in London. The truth was horrifying. The marks on the bones were not animal teeth or claws. They were clean cuts made by a heavy machete. Her body had been doused in gasoline and burned by human hands. Even more shocking, John Ward managed to obtain the original official autopsy report from Kenya. Dr. Youssef's original typed sentence, "Killed by machete cuts," had been blacked out with a typewriter ribbon and handwritten over with the words "animal bites." John Ward cornered the pathologist. Dr. Youssef would later break down in court, confessing, "If I didn't change it, they would have killed me." The state had forged an official medical document to cover up a murder. John Ward sought help from his own government and Scotland Yard. British detectives arrived in Kenya, but another sinister reality emerged. The British government also suppressed the investigation to protect vital military and commercial deals with Kenya. Julie had no idea. Even her own country's government would sacrifice her justice on the altar of political interest. Who killed Julie Ward, and who were two powerful nations trying to protect? Over the course of 30 years, John Ward traveled to Kenya more than 100 times. He spent over 8 million sterling of his own fortune. And he uncovered a chilling reality. The area where Julie vanished was the private hunting and leisure retreat of Jonathan Moi, the son of Kenya's sitting president, Daniel Arap Moi. According to insider accounts, as Julie drove back toward Nairobi that night, she was intercepted and taken to Jonathan Moi's private camp. There, she was assaulted, brutally murdered, and burned. Now, the altered autopsy reports and Britain's silence made dark sense. They were not covering up a blow to tourism. They were protecting the president's son. As John Ward closed in on the truth, key witnesses began to disappear. 2 hotel employees who saw Julie that night secretly approached John, whispering, "We know everything." Yet before those 2 witnesses could testify in court, just weeks later, one died in a suspicious car crash, and the other died of sudden, unexplained poisoning. Anyone seeking justice was systematically silenced. In 1992 and 1998, 2 low-level park rangers were put on trial as scapegoats, but both were acquitted due to lack of evidence. The real killer continued to live in luxury inside his presidential palace. Julie Ward was going to return to London in 1988 and open her photography exhibition. She couldn't have known. If she knew that safari would be her final destination, she would never have picked up that camera. Her father, John Ward, dedicated his life, his fortune, and his health to bringing his daughter's killers to light. Yet official justice never arrived. In 2019, the prime suspect, Jonathan Moy, passed away from cancer without ever facing a courtroom. Julie Ward's file remains officially marked as unsolved. On that day in the Masai Mara, a young woman was murdered. But even worse, the truth was buried beneath state secrets, lies, and forged documents. Julie was going to come home. She was going to hug her father. She had no idea. The darkness had already been following her every step.